Yeah.
Yeah. You know what else is feasible in 2021 is a new Model S.
Oh, is there a...
Maybe. We're going to get a plaid motor Model S, which may include new batteries. So there's a lot going on here that we just heard from Tesla's Battery Day announcement. I don't even know where to begin with this. The short of it is better batteries that are cheaper. Okay. The result of that would be, and the things they announced are a $25,000, was it $25,000? I think, $25,000 cheaper Tesla coming out within 3 years, and an updated Tesla Model S with the plaid motor train. They said deliveries by end of next year. I'm a little skeptical of that. If this requires the new battery cells and everything, but Tesla Battery Day is here. We can go really deep in the weeds, but let me just ask first, did you guys see it? What did you guys think of it? And, what are the bits that you think are worth even covering? Because there's so much little nerdy technical details, but at the end, it's like the very few kind of tangible things for the customers.
Well, I think let's cover just the actual, hardware changes. Why did we have a battery day? What was who cares about battery day? What's the new cell? What's different about it?
Yeah, Tesla's going to be making their own cells, where previously they've contracted out with CATL and Panasonic, and they're still going to continue to do that. Yeah, the new cell is of a new size and shape. They're calling it, 4680, I think it is. It'll have 16% more range for cars, 5x the energy, and 6 times the power. I'm not quite sure how you get 5x the energy, but only 16% more range. There's some math there that I'm not fully understanding. But the big idea here was that in order to actually achieve to have all transportation go fully electric, they need to be going from, gigawatt hours produced to terawatt hours produced. And so that was really the big motivation here, is to, accelerate their mission. They need it to create, more energy efficient cells. So they've changed the cell design. There's a tabless architecture now. Lots of stuff in there that, again, is a bit above my pay grade. But again, new cells. The cell factory is updating and changing. You can see on the screen here, this is the tablets design. But they're essentially vertically integrating the cell production into the battery pack production for the car. So the analogy, or the way to think of it, is Panasonic, or just like Tesla created their own chip for self-driving cars. The reason they did, is because they were using NVIDIA before, and NVIDIA is a great company that makes really great processors, but NVIDIA has to make those things for everybody. Whereas Tesla is like, well, no, we can make a specific one that fits our specific need. And in doing so, we can make it better performing, et cetera, et cetera. So the cell factory, the idea there is, again, they can vertically integrate these things because they know exactly what they're making, and they're making them for a specific purpose. So anything else that maybe other third parties have to include because they have other customers, they don't need. So they're able to do it with 10x footprint reduction, and they said a 10x reduction in energy, which I assume means that it takes 10x less energy to actually produce these things.
Right.
The assembly line, one line will be able to produce 20 gigawatt hours worth of batteries, which is a 7x increase in output over their current line production. And one of the ideas is that they'll be able to, they showed a slide of it, I don't remember where it was, but it was like the same footprint of Gigafactory 1 now. Instead of producing something like 150 gigawatt hours, it'll be able to produce 3 terawatt hours. They're looking at this in about 2030 is their goal, when they're able to produce 3 terawatt hours. The bits of it, they changed the anode, they changed the cathode. The cathode there is going to be 0 cobalt. So, applaud for that, getting rid of cobalt, because that's a huge human rights issue. Although, as Joe pointed out in one of his videos, EVs are still low on the totem pole in terms of where cobalt is being used. It's mostly in your cell phone. So, if you want to continue feeling bad about yourself, you're welcome. There will be 0 wastewater, which is great, especially in California. there's a huge lithium supply in Nevada. We already kind of knew about this, but they have rights and they have a new way of extracting the lithium that's better for the environment, all kinds of things like that. Then they have the cell integration. So they're actually, the analogy was really cool how they showed airplanes with their fuel tanks in the wings until they realized the wing could be the fuel tank, and they increased the size and everything like that and the capacity. Well, Tesla's done the same thing here with the cells, where they're able to actually remove a lot of the battery pack stuff and make the battery a part, like fully integrated into the car. This actually kind of reminds me of when Apple created the MacBook Air, and they did a lot of those same things. Like instead of having pieces that fit in and screwed in, they just like soldered those pieces onto the case. So like it was all like a singular kind of unit. Again, this just increases the space that they can put battery cells in there, increasing range and all those kind of things. So the net of it was a 56% decrease in cost per kilowatt hour. They didn't exactly tell us if they've achieved that $100 per kilowatt hour, but I think a lot of people would assume yes. A 54% increase in range in cars and energy products. However, besides the new Tesla Model S, there was no new products announced. Like they didn't say, oh, the Model 3 now has 800 miles of range or something like that. They didn't, they said these are the ideas that they're gonna be able to realize in 1 to 3 years. So more to come, but that was kind of the meat of the battery stuff. And then the consumer products we talked about, the $25,000 Tesla that he said will also be fully autonomous. I question that, but okay. And then the Model S Plaid Edition, which is bananas. The big numbers there, under 9-second quarter mile, 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds, 520-mile range, and a 130.3 Laguna Seca time, which is just bananas. That's really insane for a 4-door sedan family car.
Yeah.
And then he also kind of casually mentioned this. I didn't cover it in my video, but he talked about the Cybertruck is going to fit the US spec. So the Cybertruck will remain the same size, but apparently you can't make a truck that big for Europe. It's like just not allowed. So he said they'll have a Wolverine package for other regions, which would be smaller. And now, of course, that's like, well, that's the one I want. I don't want the dumb, big, bloated American one. I want the Wolverine one. That sounds way cooler. I don't know. But that was all just one? Yeah, the honey badger. That was just kind of like a casual mention, so I wouldn't really call that an announcement. But that was the meat of it.
He's talked about that on Twitter forever. Is that he wants to do a smaller Cybertruck for Europe?
Yeah, I think you have to. Is what the way he made it sound?
Yeah. So, what do you guys think? Joe,
So, is my math wrong here? It's very possible. But they said, what was it, 54% increase in range?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so if my current Model 3 gets 310, according to percentagecalculator.net, that takes it up to 475.
Uh-huh, sure.
I mean...
Yeah.
I haven't actually seen a number like that anywhere, and that's what I came up with, and I'm kind of like, really?
Yeah.
Well, hold on. I don't think they're saying that you're going to get a range increase of 54%. I think they're more like that 15%. I think the range increase thing, I was showing that screen, I think that's more like dollar or like invest. How much does it cost to make? I think this is more, this thing is very confusing.
So the cost per mile.
I think it means range increase, literally.
But why are they showing cell design, anode material, cathode material?
Those all result, all the changes they made. So we just talked about all those, right? The cell design, the anode, cathode, and the cell vehicle integration. All those are things that lead to an increase in range, right?
54% increase in range.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why it was like I was confused by the cell design had five times as much energy, but only 16% increase in range. I'm like, wait, that doesn't seem...
Well, because it's almost 5 times bigger. It's like 4 times bigger. Takes up 4 batteries.
Okay. So it could have, so it per square meter or whatever inch, it only increased it by 16%, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Got it. But then in other applications, that'll be a much bigger deal because like like a power pack or mega pack kind of thing. Like, who cares? Like, size isn't as big a deal because you put this thing out in the desert in the middle of nowhere. So like
size and weight don't really matter.
Yeah. Like it whereas a car, it very much matters, right?
But yeah, so Joe, back to your 475 mile Model 3. What do you, yeah.
I mean, it sounds awesome, but they didn't specifically say anything like that. And I'm thinking there's probably a reason for that.
Well,
either to not get people's hopes up too much, or to avoid like the Osborne effect kind of thing, or maybe it's just too on the nose.
You can order the Plaid Model S now for $140,000, and they say delivery is late next year. I think that's going to be an Elon time. That's going to slip. But the thing that is weird is they didn't specifically say that the Plaid Model S will have these new batteries.
Right. I tried getting that out of Elon because I kept noticing that like he didn't specifically say that. It'd be inferred.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, because it's like, oh, well, that makes sense. But if you did that same math, 54% range increase on a 402 mile Model S would go to 619, not to 520. So like a full 100 miles more. So it doesn't quite add up that the Model S Plaid will be getting them. If those numbers they said are to be believed, or like if it's accurate. Yeah, I mean it's all bizarre. Like it sounds like the only car that's going to be getting them is the $25,000 one.
Well, it's going to make that possible, I guess.
Well, like the other cars may get them, but it wasn't totally obvious. Like, yeah, because otherwise you would imagine. Why are they not advertising Model 3 with...
You're not talking about the $25,000 car. You're talking about the Tesla Pillow.
The My Pillow?
Yeah. The Tesla
Elon's the My Pillow guy now.
If you guys didn't see the presentation, they kept showing just a car underneath a sheet, but it just looked like a pillow.
I was really waiting for them to remove it and show like the design, and everybody be like, "No," but they didn't do that.
That's my thoughts on the whole day. Is I kept waiting for there to be. I know that Elon didn't promise anything like that, but he made some big statements like, "We have a lot to talk about. Like, there's many things that are exciting." And I just really thought this was the time of all times for them to be able to release a new product. That this was the time to do it.
And even the Plaid Model S, he didn't say there were any changes to the interior or exterior. And if you go to order it. You don't have like in terms of styling, I think, or exterior when you go to that tab, it's like paint and wheels, and that's it. So there still was very little. So I know people thought I was like kind of clickbaiting with my video title, saying it was a letdown, but it kind of was. Like this is all really cool.
The stock went down.
The stock dropped. Because I think everyone was expecting something bigger than that.
I know.
But just I think ignore the stock market because it's, like they'll lay off half their staff and you're like, oh my God. And the stock market's like, woo, party. Yes, great job, team. And you're like, what? They just ruined 20,000 people's lives. Like
at one point we were speculating that maybe they've been putting these new batteries in cars for a while now and they're just going to flip a switch and suddenly we're going that 5,000 miles on a charge. And we kind of brought that on ourselves.
Well, I think so. To me, that's 100%. I think the letdown was more on the like expectations that people set. Because everybody assumed like a new Model S. I mean, I guess we got the Plaid motor, but I think everyone assumed that we were going to see some other stuff here. And
so
we didn't really see anything.
I'm actually really glad you just pulled the screen up because this to me was one of the most interesting things I thought. They're actually going to be making 3 different types of batteries.
Yeah.
The
cathode
iron phosphate for the long cycle life, nickel manganese, which is basically what they're doing now a little bit for the long range, and then high nickel for the high end stuff.
I don't think there's manganese in the current batteries. Isn't it nickel,
cobalt,
that's the
NMC,
aluminum?
Nickel, manganese, cobalt.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what they use. I think they use nickel, cobalt, aluminum in the current batteries.
NCA?
I believe so. Oh. But whatever. Yeah. Maybe they're switching to that. Yeah.
Point is, they're like using different types of chemistries of batteries for different optimized uses.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is interesting to me. I didn't see that coming. That was surprising to me.
Is it the Model 3 in both of these? Is that? Well, I'm confused on the iron base versus the nickel manganese are those? Oh, that's a Model Y, maybe.
Y
next to the Powerwall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they just look like a Y.
They just like use the same image and zoomed in a little bit. Like,
but I have to say, okay, so I think, okay.
Let's hear it.
I just think I expected something to just be like some kind of hard spec. The whole like Model S Plaid, basically everything they showed is stuff they've been showing last year since they started taking that prototype out to the Nürburgring. Like, so what? We know it's going to be stupid fast, and yeah, it'll have 520 plus miles, but like, show us. Like, don't just say plus and less than. It just felt awfully like, oh, Lucid Air just announced their thing. Now we have to make sure the Plaid Model S is literally just a tiny bit better in every way. It just feels very like...
My dog is bigger than your dog.
Yeah. I was expecting more like hard numbers
my
or
dad
more
can beat
like...
up your dad.
Yeah, my dad can beat up your dad. Exactly. But like, I was expecting more just something tangible. Like, like you can order this now properly and it'll be delivered, you know, or we've already put this in something that you can get, or here's a new car this will be in, this will come out next year, whatever. But I don't know. I want something more.
Me too. Me too.
I don't know. Like, I mean, I understand. Like, I'm right there with you guys. I really thought there'd be some big cool thing they'd bring up on stage and be like, oh, yay. When they were talking about the 25,000, I said this a minute ago, but I fully expected that sheet to disappear and show what this would look like, or just have one roll up on stage or something. Because at one point the camera cut away to the car audience for a while, and I was like, "Ooh, they're gonna reveal something now," because they were like specifically not showing the stage for a second, and then it didn't happen. So I mean, like I was constantly waiting for something like that to happen, and it didn't quite. But that doesn't take away from the really cool stuff that they were talking about, from very technical engineering, right? You know, big picture kind of thing.
So
you know.
that gives me a flashback to a terrible memory of mine. So thanks a lot, Joe. So ignoring what we now know for sure about Michael Jackson's legacy, so just ignore all of that. Go back to his death, right? When he died, I was just the biggest Michael Jackson fan, right? I was and I was so upset when he died. But my friend worked for E! Or for like Access Hollywood, one of those two things. And as soon as he died, he's like, dude, guess what? We just got a scoop. He's not dead. This is all publicity stunt, because he was supposed to go on like a world tour, you know, like he was working on a new tour.
The This Is It tour.
Yeah, the This Is It tour. He's like, this is all just publicity. And like, he was just telling me, he's feeding me this stuff. And I was in. I'm like, oh, there's for sure going to be, he's like in the funeral, everyone, like all the family are in on it, and he's going to come out and it's going to be like this big, this is going to be like the opening.
He's going to pop out of the casket and just start moonwalking all over you.
So I literally was
he
sitting
just
there
moonwalks out of the casket,
watching the funeral, expecting a casket, and I'm sitting here like, this is kind of messed up. Like, even for Michael Jackson, this is pretty messed up.
They're really taking this seriously.
They're taking this way too far. Like, look at all these people crying. Like, geez.
Wow, you really were expecting something like that at his funeral?
He had me 100% convinced that this was totally, everyone in Hollywood knew, no big deal. And every person that gets up on stage, the first person gets up on stage, someone just sitting there crying, and I'm like, wow, they're a good actor. Next person gets up on stage, I'm like, this is really messed up. The next person, I'm like, what? And I finally texted him, like, dude, are you like, I'm watching this. There's no way. He's like, this is really messed up. He's like, oh, wait, you still believe me? And I was like, are you serious? Like,
was he messing with you the whole time?
He was messing with me the whole time, just totally messing with me. And I felt like that because I had convinced myself they're going to do something really big at Battery Day beyond the technology of the batteries, because the technology of the batteries was great, but it's hilarious that the stock drops because they found out, hey, we can make these batteries like 10 times more batteries for about half the price, and the stock drops. It's like, I think we all had our expectations.
My guess
Michael Jackson coming out
from the stock market perspective is they hear capital expenditures. They hear you're going to have to spend a lot of money to build out this factory. That means you're not going to be profitable. That means et cetera, you know. I mean, the market, all it cares about, its sole purpose is to suck money out of a company. That's it. It could be, you know, like cobalt mining 101 or something, like, you know, and it's like, oh yeah, all we do is mine cobalt. Ignore how we get it, you know. But they're like, oh hey, you showed a 20% profit. Here's billions of dollars. Yeah. Like the market has no conscience. It cares nothing about you. It is completely just the most greedy driven kind of thing. And so if there's anything here that would impede on the market's ability to make money on them, then that would be a downside, right? That's why literally laying off people and, you know, whatever, like shutting down your customer service factory and ruining a town in Ohio to ship it over to the Philippines is like a huge win in the market's eyes. Yeah. Right?
Profits go up.
Yeah. Profits go up. So I could see their thing like, oh, you're going to have to spend a lot of money. It's going to take a lot of time. It's a bit of a risk, and you're already making money doing well. So I don't know. Like I'm not into it.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, because the thing about them not having some big surprise now thing is that there's nothing coming out of this that's going to make any money for them in the near term. Long term, sure, but in the near term, no. Like you said, it's just extra money they're going to have to be spending to build all these factories and stuff. Mm-hmm. How about I just repeat what you said back to you?
No, but Joe, like you were saying earlier, that like the Osborne effect of like if they announce something coming, you know, I think they had to be very careful about not altering and diluting their current brand and what is currently for sale now, because if people are sitting here going, well, I'm not going to buy a Tesla now if in 2 years I can get a car with 50% better range for the same price or cheaper, then why am I going to? Yeah, then why would I buy a Tesla right now? You know,
I'm still shocked that he said that it'll be $25,000 and fully autonomous. I assume what he means is that it will have the hardware suite that they believe will give them full autonomy. You know, none of this is proven yet, so to say it with certainty, I think is still, you know, a bit presumptuous.
So there was something said about the autonomy at the very beginning that has kind of been overlooked because of all the battery stuff. But wasn't he talking about them completely starting over from scratch? They
rewrote it, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which I don't know how much of that. I don't know how big of a deal that is. I mean, it's big, but like remember the big challenge with self-driving cars or anything complicated like this is collecting the data. So once you have all the data in the world to work off, I guess I would say like making 1 million cars that are collecting data from all over the world, putting that into a database is much harder to do than like rewriting your whole deep learning architecture. You know, of course it's hard and it's whatever, but it's once you have the data, you can iterate on those things, you know, hundreds of times and have multiple teams going, and you can hire 1,000 software engineers that want to work on this. Like that's an easy thing to do in comparison to the other side.
Well, so I think the big thing with the autonomy is that they'll be constantly they'll basically rewrite more and more of the core to have the the neural net, like more and more of the core driving of what the car can do will be written into what they've learned. Like I think that's when these rewrites come out as like, okay, we're actually going to give more over to the autonomy aspect, because right now our cars are labeling machines basically and able to keep in a lane. And that's, and change lanes and do a few things, but they're basically just a label maker for Tesla.
I thought that was kind of funny. They recently put out the, it can read speed signs, speed limit signs, which is like new for Model 3 and Model Y, but was always been there as a part of the original autopilot. So it was kind of a funny thing. Like that's the, a different approach doesn't always yield in this world of machine learning, doesn't always yield positive benefits in every single way. Like you've talked about it before, Tim, where like they put out a new release and all of a sudden this patch of road that was fine before, now your car wants to, veer off a cliff or something. It's like, it's a really difficult thing, and you just need ungodly amounts of data, especially for all the edge cases. That's where it gets super hard.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this clip from our show. If that's just not enough for you and you want to watch the full episode, you can go to olfpod.com/YT.
And if you want more from us, you can consider becoming a Patreon member. You'll get early access to episodes. You can join our awesome community. You can actually watch us record live and get your name in the credits by going to olfpod.com/Patreon.
So thanks everyone for watching. Check back every Friday for new clips here and new episodes on the main channel.
Thanks, everybody.